Good evening and welcome back to Irons United for our preview of the Carabao Cup against Hull City at home. West Ham will, of course, be looking to bounce back from Saturday's Premier League defeat against Arsenal when we take on Hull City in the third round of the EFL Cup on Tuesday night. We have now lost both of our league matches this season, while Hull, on the other hand, have recorded 2 wins from their 2 League One matches to occupy third position in the table. We've had a disappointing defeat 2-0 to Newcastle on the opening weekend. But it'd be fair to say, Matt, that we were unfortunate to lose against Arsenal, to be honest. But again, we did concede in the last couple of minutes, which saw Arsenal take the victory. But now we're up against Hull City. Matt, Carabao Cup, are we going for it?
You kind of would say yes. You know, the team, if you look at the team he put out against Charlton, I don't think anyone expected it to be anywhere near as stacked with first team players that he played, or you could say first team squad players. You know, I expected a lot more kids, a lot more of the reserve players than we played. You know, so I suppose in some ways, for some of these players, it might be like a second pre-season. You could look at it like that, because if they're not getting the game time, we haven't only had 2-3 pre-season games. Normally you get 6-7 and everyone gets to play. So he's using it like a pre-season. But at the moment, you say at least, it's when we come up against a bigger team, we'll see how seriously Moyes is actually taking the competition.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, listen, let's get on to the opposition as we always do. We briefly touch on the opposition every time we do a preview. So let's have a look at Hull City. They've played 5 times across 3 separate competitions this season, and they've made an encouraging start. They've got 4 victories on the board already. So they'll go into this game, Matt, with a sense of confidence, especially after their last game out where in the Carabao Cup, they actually defeated Leicester, albeit it was on penalties, but they still, sorry, not Leicester, Leeds. And, you know, we've all seen the style of play that Leeds have been doing, and they've got strength and depth in their squad. They've got to surely take some confidence from that, mate.
Yeah, and don't forget, I think if you go back to the game, it was only in, almost like the last kick of the game in injury time that Leeds equalised. Hull were winning for the majority of the game. They scored inside, I think they scored inside the first 10 and conceded in injury time. So they led them for the majority of the game. And, you know, for them, it was hard because they had the relegation last year, sold off their 2 best players. But it looks like, I don't know how much the squad they've kept over so far this transfer window, but it looks like they've got their heads down, got their attitude sorted, and they're going again. You know,
well, this is the starting lineup against Leeds. You know, there's not. I'm not going to lie to you. There's not a huge amount of players I know a lot of information about, except for the striker Wilkes, who he's been banging in a few goals this season. He looks like he's a decent threat going forward.
I think the number 10, Honeyman, was from. Did he come out of Sunderland's academy?
Yeah, he did. Yeah. Oh, has he gone to Hull? I didn't know he'd gone to Hull.
I just saw his name and it's come up. Yeah.
Ah, interesting. And I take it, you know, a lot of us will get the knowledge from him from Sunderland till I die. I'm adamant that's where his.
That's where I noticed him from.
Yeah, that's right. So I mean, they've gone from the from the high life of the Premier League to the depths of below to the League One. You know, there's the Hull City have gone through some. Could you say similarities in terms of West Ham, except for the fact that they've obviously been relegated to League One? The fans I don't know if they still are in disarray with their owners. Was there not a time that they were going to get their name changed and they were going to change everything?
Yeah, they tried it, didn't they? Luckily, I think they were in the Premier League at the time.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what would have happened if they'd been in the Football League. They had the owners come in. I think were they Asian owners? And I think they wanted to change the name to Hull City Tigers.
Well, do you know what the funny thing is? Just for your reference, if you look on Hull City's official website, it's actually hullcitytigers.com. So
yeah, I'm sure it was either going to be Hull City Tigers or just Hull Tigers.
No, I think it was Hull City Tigers they were going to be, but they've managed to keep it onto their official website. I mean, you know, there's always been that kind of, I know Stell done his West Ham Weekly and he was joking about Kentucky Fried West Ham and all that sort of stuff. But, you know, these owners come in and want to make these clubs and teams, they say, more marketable. Hull City Tigers, I mean, the fans went off in one and and got their way in the end. Did they not take them to court? Did they not go to the level of...
They tried to appeal it, but obviously the Premier League's ruling is you cannot change the name of it. Because obviously it's weird, because it's the 20 members make up the Premier League, don't they?
Yeah.
The 20 clubs that are in it at the time are the 20 members of the Premier League. And a protection thing about, the same way that we keep saying about if West Ham gets sold, they wouldn't become Red Bull West Ham or RB West Ham, because you're not allowed to change the club's name.
Of course.
But in the Football League, I don't know what if it had been the same. But yeah, they were sort of, they reminded me a bit like a Stoke or Brighton when they're in the Premier League. They sort of kind of established themselves, and they were always there and thereabouts floating around, and they've sort of dropped. And then they've really got done over, to be honest, by their own chairman.
Yeah.
He basically gambled on the sale of 2 players in January, because when we bought Bowen in January, they were like, I think 10th in the table, and they won 2 or 3 games the rest of the season after they sold him.
Yeah.
He refused to sell him to Palace at the start of the window that we bought Bowen, because they were pushing for the playoffs. They lost every game in that January. We bought him in, and we paid the 20 million for him, and they sold Grzycki, I think his name is, for $500,000 to West Brom.
Yeah, we did.
So they sold their 2 biggest scorers and creators for 20.5 million on the basis that, well, we're mid-table, we're not going up, we're not going down, and they just capitulated.
Of course,
and they've dropped. Yeah. And you look and you think, could that be us? Sold Diangana. If we sell Declan Rice as well, could we follow the same? Just because, the money's there, we'll be all right.
Well, listen, let's have a look. Their manager's Grant McCann. He's come in, and this season in particular, so far, this is their kind of recent form. Over the 5 games they played Sunderland in the EFL Cup first round, beat them on penalties. They lost their Football League trophy against the Leicester City under-21 side. They beat Gillingham away from home in the league. They beat Leeds United on penalties in the last round of the EFL to, of course, face West Ham. And then the momentum's continued, and they've won their last league game. He seems to be doing a solid job, and Hull City, kind of for them as the fans, hopefully they're on the up. They're coming up against West Ham, of course, mate, and let's not deny there, West Ham, we don't have momentum, and every club, we said it about the Charlton game, and we'll come on to West Ham in a minute, but if you're Hull City, what are you thinking coming to the London Stadium?
I suppose in some ways they've got nothing to lose. They're in confidence, they're in form, and it's a throwaway game, much like I've said, our fixtures coming up, Moyes have got throwaway games because not expected to win. There's no pressure on Hull in this whatsoever. If they drop out, it'll be a blessing in disguise, because you see how many games they've already played since the start of the season. And the season only started like 2 weeks ago. So for them, it's good, probably easing the burden. If they lose, it easing the burden on their fixtures. And if they win, it carries momentum. There's nothing wrong with momentum and winning, especially when you're in a league like that where you play as many games. Any sort of boost you can get in morale will help them going forward.
Yeah.
So for them, it's a no-lose. Because if they lose, if they put out the teams like we put out, even the team we put out last week, and we go batter them 4-5-0, well, then they were expected to lose because they're 2 divisions below who they're playing.
Yeah.
For them, it's a no-lose situation. They can go out there as long as they, give it their best go. They can have their heads held high whether they win or lose.
Yeah, of course. Well, listen, let's have a little look at Wilkes up top. His style of play is he's a versatile forward. He does play as a lone striker. Although he can play on either wing as an attacking winger. He's known for his pace, power, and physicality. And he's described as like a kind of flamboyant, and he's got some showboating skills. He's played for Hull City over 20 times, scoring 6 goals. He was on loan originally from Barnsley, but in his last 9 appearances for Hull City, he's got 3 goals. So obviously they've unearthed another potential talent. I mean, he's a young lad, 21, but we know about Hull City because there's been quite a few connections between West Ham and Hull in the past. I've put some in the video. We've got Reece Burke, who obviously signed, is currently playing at Hull, but not. I don't know if he's injured, so I don't think he'll feature tomorrow night. We've got the transfer between the 2 clubs of Diame, but then probably more recently, and probably 2 players that could possibly feature tomorrow is Jared Bowen, who in his career at Hull, I mean, unbelievable. I mean, and this is the reason why, of course, West Ham signed him. In over 120 appearances, he scored over 52 goals for the club. But let's not forget, mate, that also in the ranks there's Mr. Snodgrass, Robert Snodgrass, who played over 45 games for the club and scoring 11 goals. So it'll be a bit of a reunion for the ex-pros against Hull. Shall we get on to a little bit of West Ham and discuss what we think? Listen, if you are watching, get your comments in. Let us know your thoughts on what we've mentioned on some of the players, etc. What do you fear Hull City in any way whatsoever? Matt, we said in the last preview, sometimes we don't like being the team that's not the underdog, and it does set me up with a little bit of fear sometimes. Although coming out of the Charlton game, I was buzzing. Went into the Arsenal game, and I've been deflated again since that result. How are you feeling? Well, not the performance.
I wasn't. Yeah,
the result.
The result. It's just again, the result was we didn't take our chances, but we did carry on the momentum from the Charlton game into, even though it was almost a lot of change of players, we did sort of carry momentum on into that game. But like you said, I'd honestly rather play a Premier League team, as much as it pains me to say. I'd rather play a Premier League team in the Cup than I would a lower league team. Because even in the last 5 years, I mean, the amount of embarrassing defeats we've had against, it was what we had, MK Dons, was it Oxford last year? Yeah. You never know with West Ham.
No, of course not, mate.
Especially when it comes to lower league teams, because sometimes we get that attitude of it's only a lower league team. And as fans, we can sit there and say that because, we look at what's done on paper. But games aren't played on paper, and West Ham always seem to forget that and just quite often stroll in and go, diddy about, we end up getting knocked out. Having said that, the team we put out against Charlton did give me confidence because.
Well, let's have I'll put the team up that we actually put out against them.
That is potentially you could you could see that on a Saturday in a Premier League.
Yeah,
game.
You could. You could. And listen, we saw that, and West Ham did play well. Haller had the confidence reaming out of him. Masuaku performed well and was given the go ahead to start against Arsenal, and he performed well against Arsenal as well. But I mean, this game could be really telling for. I mean, there's rumours kicking about saying that the longer the West Ham stay in the cup competition, delays the sale potentially of Josh Cullen, because I mean, I think a lot of people are actually thinking that's the cup competition is the only reason why he's staying at the club, because after his performance against Charlton and after his performance at the against Brentford in pre-season, you would think that he's at least going to travel with the first team squad. But then how many players were missing from the first team squad for the Arsenal game? Players you thought would have been in there?
I suppose the thing I always worry about is that, especially at the moment in this COVID, is that I'd only sell someone if you can replace them. Now, he's not under 23 anymore, he's under 21, he's a 24. So straight away, he's 24 years old in English, so he counts to your homegrown quota, right?
Yeah.
So what would we get from him if we sell him?
No, I don't think we'd get a lot, mate. But can I just show you something? This is what he's got to compete with. I've lost you, Matt. Your volume's gone. No, you need to plug yourself in, mate.
Can't hear you, mate.
I've got you now. Got you. That's you. On you go. That's you. Can you hear me?
I can't hear anything. Sound's gone.
What do you think of the midfield? Can you hear me now? Oh, there he goes. He's coming out. Listen, the point we're trying to make was Cullen stepping in, coming off the mark, trying to get back into that side. And I've just shown you there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 midfielders that he's got to try and compete with in particular. Let me just see if I can bring Matt back in. Can you hear me now, Matt?
Yeah, I can hear. I don't know what happened. You played that video and it just killed the sound.
I'll bring those midfielders back up for you again, mate. You see how potentially tough it's going to be for him to try and break into that mid when you look at that?
Straight away, for me, right in the middle of that picture, you had Snoddy, Noble and Wilshere, and Cullen would be in front of them, for me.
Yeah.
He'd be in front of them 3 already. So that's already hot. That is the majority of the players in his position. The only ones I'd say would probably be in front of him would be Fornals and Lanzini.
Yeah.
But we know, as a club, how many injuries do we get a season?
Yeah.
You're not going to replace him, especially when what was it? Fulham and Crystal Palace wanted him.
Yeah, of course.
So if he's good enough to play for them, we look where we finished last year. Palace finished above us, and if they're prepared to go and buy him because they think he'll offer something to their midfield, why would you not offer it to ours? Noble, the game against Arsenal at the weekend, perfect example. Noble was out injured, and the fluidity and the pace in that midfield was tenfold because Noble wasn't there. I mean, no offense, he does slow the game down. And Cullen showed in the game against Charlton last week that he looks forward, he passes forward.
Of course he does.
So,
do you think then there's an opportunity? Like, it's a no-brainer for me that Cullen is going to start, and I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a strong resemblance of that starting lineup again.
I would say it's almost going to be exactly the same team.
I think the only player that you might not, I could be wrong here, but maybe Masuaku.
That's what I was going to say. That's the only one now. Because of the formation we played and how well we played against Arsenal.
Yeah. Let's have a look let's have a look at the defender options that West Ham have got just now. I mean, there's plenty to choose from, and that's not me even looking at a lot of the youth players, mate. I mean,
no, but you say plenty. But if you go back to that midfield and you saw how many midfielders we have, and you see how little of defence we have,
of course,
you're not really talking about. We haven't even got 2 for every position, so we've only technically got. If you don't include the kids, we've only got 3 centre backs.
Yeah.
So straight away, if one of them gets injured, you've only got 2. And like we saw in the game the other day, the game against Arsenal, you played 2 left backs. So we didn't have a spare left back. Like today, we're saying, Masuaku might not play left back. Well, he's not going to play Creswell. So does he then go to the academy and get one, or does he stick with Masuaku?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's a tough one, but I think we've kind of pretty much, we'll come on to the team selection in a minute. But let's get up top, because I suppose there was a bit of an outcry from West Ham fans when we thought about, was Haller going to start against Arsenal? Let's have a look at West Ham's current strikers we've got available just now. I mean, that's not me even included any of the youth players, Xandi Silva. But, you've got Antonio, you've got Haller. I think we'll see Haller again. And I said this during one of the shows we did the other day, Matt, that a lot of fans are panicking, thinking, why is he not favouring Haller, right? Now, I think there's method in the madness, and let me try and explain what I'm going to say. There's an opportunity. I kind of forgot that we were about to play Hull midweek again. So we've had, 4 games in the space of 2 weeks, borderline 5 games in the space of 2 weeks, right? Obviously, pandemic has brought all this upon West Ham, etc., and all the other teams. And maybe he saw an opportunity to try and put out, a bit like what he did with the friendlies, mate. He put 2 teams out on the same night, 2 separate 11s. Now, I know West Ham need to get points. I know that for a fact. Therefore, I think the Newcastle game, he done the right decision, because I think he had to play the same team that ended up Project Restart, because that was the informed side. I think he did need to make some changes, and probably more than what he made against Arsenal, but he didn't. But he made one big, bold move by bringing Masuaku in. He saw the opportunity that we're going to play Hull, and if this lineup and this setup gets some form of momentum, that maybe come the Wolves game, he may start to go, right, now this is the step in. Now we've given you guys 2 games to go and prove yourself, and things need to change. I can't see how Haller could come into the game tomorrow night and perform well, or midfielders and some of the defenders, and not make a real stake for a first team spot coming into the Premier League game the next week. I don't know what your thoughts are.
Well, I think you might be right with the 5 games thing, because he knows he's not the first time he's manager. He knows that we always want to say, if we get mid-table and a good cup run, we'll be happy.
Yeah.
So if he'd have gone out and put the kids and reserves out and we lost, there'd have been an uproar. And like you said, because the turnaround was so short, don't forget, it was only like 6 weeks between the end of one season and the start of the next. We had 3 pre-season games, 2 of which were played on the same day. You know, or it was 4 pre-season games, 2 were played on the same day. So there wasn't enough for the whole squad to get fit. So it's almost like he has gone, split the team down the middle. I'm going to try and stick with the team that ended Project Restart at the start of the season as the team to go forward. But this second team are going to get the cup run. Which, as you said, for the first month, isn't a bad thing. You know, and in fairness, everyone was moaning about Haller, but Antonio scored the other night. He did get a goal. So you can still see why Moyes is like, oh, Antonio does score goals. I still think Haller's the better striker. And I think, like you said, if people after this game start performing well, I don't know when the next round of fixtures, I don't think the next cup game's for a little while now.
I was actually just trying to...
I think they squeeze in the first 3 rounds in the first month. And I don't think it's till next month now, the next one.
Yeah, so it gives a bit of a break. So this is there could be method in his madness with the whole decision he's going to make. You know, if we see the following lineup again go out like we saw against Charlton, you know, I'll be brutally honest with you. I'm more excited about that lineup than I was than the Arsenal lineup, if I'm being really, really honest.
See, the thing is, I don't need that team. I'd take a hybrid of the 2 teams. For me, like it would only, but the fullbacks, Diop, I'd keep. Anderson and Lanzini and Haller I'd probably keep, or certainly Anderson and Haller I'd keep. You know, it'd probably be, for me, I'd probably drop out the goalkeeper, probably drop Balbuena for Ogbonna, and then Cullen, Snodgrass, Yarmolenko and Lanzini. But there's a core of teams, like he's got a core of a first team there. Yeah. You know, you're only really missing like, you know, Rice and Souček, Bowen and someone else. Could be Lanzini, you know, and you've got a more attacking team there. So,
well, listen,
like
before we name our starting 11, you, as fans who are watching the show, come in and name your starting 11. Let's go through it, Matt. Are we going... I mean, I tell you what, let's make it a little bit easier on ourselves. Let's bring the side back up. What changes do you realistically see tomorrow night?
I honestly think he'll probably go like for like there, because none of them started at the weekend, apart from Diop.
Even Masuaku?
I could see it, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think against Hull, and no offence to Hull, they are a League One team, we should be able to defend what they bring against us. Mm-hmm. I don't think he'd ever start him in that position in a Premier League game. He'd be mental to do it, unless he had someone more competent in the back as a whole back 4. But against a lower league opposition, I could see him doing it, starting him, because he offers more going forward than Creswell does, unfortunately.
Yeah. Yep. So we're just going to go with something really similar. I think if there is going to be any form of change, I could potentially see something changing in the centre half pairing. That could be a mixture of him maybe trying and testing maybe different partnerships.
That would be my only thing, is I could possibly see him not playing Diop.
Yep.
And bringing one of the kids in to play alongside Balbuena.
Yep. I'd like to see that though. I mean, I would like to see.
I don't know when the last under-23s game was, and I don't know who started for them. But I could see that being the other option, because otherwise that means Diop's played 4 games in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Because I think he's the only guy that started every game.
Yeah, of course. Right. Let's get on to some of the favourite time for everyone during this show. Predictions, Matt. Get your predictions in if you are watching. Matt, do you remember your prediction for the... Oh, no, you didn't come do the Charlton preview, did you?
No, I can't remember if I did or not. I don't know what I predicted.
What's your predictions for the game tomorrow night? And we also need to find out where it's streamed, because we are doing a match day live.
I would get, off the top of my head, I'm going to guess at a 3-0. I'm going to go for the same as we got against Charlton.
Right, okay. Good man. So you're going for a strong victory.
If he puts that team out, yeah.
with no conceding goals.
No, I said if he puts that team out, or as close to that team as it is, maybe say put one of the kids in at centre back. Even what we saw from the kids in pre-season, I think.
Well, I'm going to go for a 3-1 victory to West Ham, and we're going to see a confident attacking lineup, and we're going to see that lad Wilkes get a goal against us, because we do have problems at the back. Yes, okay, we performed reasonably well, or not reasonably well, as a unit against Arsenal, although we did see our defensive frailties. I watched in particular, for example, Stell's show last night, and he put a lot of blame on Declan Rice for losing his man for the Lacazette goal. But you can lose your man, and then you need your defence to back you up. And listen, the ball was penetrated our defence. Our defence was at fault for their positioning, etc. So it was a tough one. But they're saying now that we can watch potentially the game again for another tenner online. The Carabao
I've just literally just searched it, and it's on the West Ham website. Yeah. Which, by the way, I will say this, because I saw last week, I saw West Ham. Like, don't forget, I mean, anyone's GSB opinions is whatever, and we've spoken about this on the group and even on this channel a lot. The price of watching that game has got absolutely zero to do with West Ham United as a club.
Yeah,
that is the EFL and the partnership with Carabao.
Yeah,
and they've said we're gonna select certain games to show, and then we're gonna select more games that you can pay for personally to watch. So if you're paying that £10, that is not going to West Ham. That goes to the EFL and the Carabao.
Yeah,
but it is available apparently on Carabao's website again for £10 if you want to pay for the stream to watch it.
Well, tomorrow night, though, Matt, if you're not going to watch it and you're not going to pay for it, come and join us on Matchday Live, because we'll be doing a running commentary. We have a good bit of a laugh, and we do talk you through the whole game. It's good fun, but listen, we just want to get a result and try and get a cup run. It's time that West Ham actually get a cup run. Before we go, let's get on to some of the comments, Matt. One new notification. What? No ska? Listen, we're trying some new music. We're just trying some different stuff. Let us know your thoughts, but hey, we're trying some new stuff. Evening, Marcus. Hope you are well. We haven't spoken about, if we get through this round, we got to play Hull
away. We've got to play Everton away.
Sorry, not Hull, Everton away. And Stephen Richardson is predicting a Hull win, and then it's Everton v Hull. But let's hope it's not. We've already answered your question there, Joe. Hope you're well. Luke is saying beat Hull, and it's Everton away. Not sure how I feel about that one. Do you know what, Luke? Like, how would you feel if it was Everton at home? Do you feel any different? Probably not.
I'd rather play Everton away than get a League One team in the next round, though.
Yeah. Tony Pezzalesi, Randolph, Ashby. It's a big move if he plays Ashby. And listen, what you're saying there, Ashby, Balbuena, Diop, Alessi, I love that, but Alessi is more suited to a centre back, in my opinion.
That looks like he's.
Oh no, that is. He's playing five.
Yeah,
playing
same way we played against Arsenal.
Yeah. Listen, Tony, I like the look of that, to be honest. I really do like the look of that, but I just don't see it happening, to be honest. Marcus, need to play the same formation as we did against Arsenal, and who shows the worth should make the team bench on Sunday against Wolves. But I think to be honest, mate, I think there's players that should start that shouldn't have started against Arsenal. I think my biggest concern going in, and we'll talk about that in the preview, is that because we showed fight and determination, we shouldn't change the team against Arsenal. But in actual fact, I think we should. But we'll go into that in the preview. Scott Randall, same team as we played in the last cup game.
Yeah, it probably will be something around that.
What's this here? Tony Pizzoli, Scott Randall. That would mean playing Masuaku 3 days after the game against Arsenal. Marcus Lieb got to go all out, otherwise it'll be another Wimbledon or Oxford.
Nah, we got Roberto though, so. And I don't know what the result was, but I did see the other day at the weekend. I think it was yesterday. Is it yesterday or Saturday that he started the team we sold him to? He started the game and he conceded 2 goals in the first 20 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. Lee is saying, can you imagine if we kept Diangana and played him against Arsenal? Listen, mate. I don't want to get caught up in the whole kind of. I'm not absolutely gutted about the Diangana sale. I'm annoyed that we had to sell him because we were in the situation that we're in. So we need money, therefore we've got to sell talent. That annoys me, but it's not. I'm not going absolutely ballistic. I'm ballistic not at the Diangana sale. I'm ballistic at the reason why we sold him. That's the annoying thing for me. So, I don't know if they actually did fancy him, full stop. I mean, he has played, 17 games for West Ham in the Premier League, and he showed some form of promise, but he did have momentum. Not slagging him off by no means. Troz, you're saying too much Deadwood. I do think we're starting to get a bit more of Deadwood again, to be honest. I think there is some in there. Look, Moyes is making late subs, but working with what he's got. No investment in the squad means his hands are tied. 100%, mate. Yeah. Marcus, you're saying 3-0 West Ham. Lee, you're saying 2-0 West Ham. Fushizi, you're saying 2-0 West Ham. There's quite a lot of comments here, so I'm just skipping through some of them. Tony is saying 3-1 to West Ham. So, listen, thanks for watching the show. Matt, what have they got to do?
Like, share, subscribe, get your comments in.
That's the one, mate. That is the one. Get your prediction. You've done it, mate. You've done it. Make sure you join us tomorrow for Matchday Live. We'll be having a good bit of banter. If you want to come and join us, have a drink, then why not? And even if you want to come on the show, let us know and we'll send you the link to join in. It's going to be a good laugh. And let's hope West Ham can continue our Carabao Cup fine form. Played one, won one, scored 3. So let's hope we can continue that for tomorrow night and get through in the cup. Like Matt said, subscribe, like, and share. And this has been Irons United. I'm Anton, and he has been Matt. Come on, you Irons.